Hey folks, time for another Patreon special missions request. This comes from good brother Micah Lennon, who sent a couple of these items along in a gift box. Today we're taking a look at the top 10 glow-in-the-dark figures in my collection. So this particular list isn't strictly vintage figures, it's not strictly modern either. It's not even strictly figures that I have. Some of them on the list I don't have, but I'll be showing you some pictures of them. But these are some of my favorite glow-in-the-dark figures, and I am a huge fan of glow-in-the-dark toys all the way back from my childhood. And I certainly appreciate some of the newer releases that have been done in recent years for the glow-in-the-dark figures. And this is the exciting part right now. I've had these guys charging up, some lights shining down on them and getting them all charged up. Oh, that is what I'm talking about. I just love that bright green neon color when the lights come off, and lots of great memories of going to bed, lights off, time to go to sleep. But characters like Night Fighter Dargan continuing to fight the evil forces of Spydrax in the dark, Robocop continuing to serve the public trust at night, and the Supernaturals somehow getting even spookier than they are in the light thanks to their glow-in-the-dark weapons. Kicking the list off with the intergalactic space ranger Buzz Lightyear, who I actually didn't realize glowed in the dark like he did in the movie. This one is a much earlier release. It might have actually been the very first release of Buzz Lightyear. And then a few years later, a different version with different phrases came out in this box, similar to the one he has in the movie. But the one that came in that box doesn't have glow-in-the-dark paint over his green parts. And it was probably a good year or more until we found out that this guy glowed in the dark as well. We were in the room that this guy was standing on a shelf in, and we turned the lights off, and just out of the corner of our eye, we caught him glowing in the dark, just like in the movie. Really fun toy with lots of great play features, like a dome that opens up, a jetpack that has wings that pop out, and phrases from the movie. But the fact that he glows in the dark is just that extra little charming bit from the movie that makes this a fantastic glow-in-the-dark toy.
Oh guys, I think we've got trouble here. Big, big trouble.
Number 9 on the list is a quartet of figures that I don't have. They're repaints, or remolds, of the original 4 real Ghostbusters figures. It's the Ecto Glow Ghostbusters. And glow-in-the-dark and Ghostbusters goes hand in hand. They did release this little tiny guy right here who does glow-in-the-dark. I thought it was kind of interesting that more ghosts didn't glow in the dark in this line. It makes them look extremely spooky. So when they released the 4 Ghostbusters in a glow-in-the-dark plastic, it seemed perfectly natural. And the great thing about the Ecto Glow Ghostbusters is that even though they come with a regular flesh-colored head, they also come with a glow-in-the-dark head. So if you wanted to, you could use them as the 4 ghost versions of the Ghostbusters, as they appeared in the Real Ghostbusters episode Citizen Ghost, where the Ghostbusters costumes become haunted because of their interaction with Gozer the Gozerian, and they become, as Ghostbusters fans call them, the Spectral Ghostbusters, or the Anti-Ghostbusters. So even though the Ecto Glow Ghostbusters do have a little bit of funky coloration on them, some different colored stripes on them, green and pink, and they have their names written on them as well. When they're glowing in the dark from head to toe, they're definitely spooky enough to be an unofficial Spectral Ghostbusters team.
Turn them into the light and they change into even more powerful creatures.
Number 8 on the list are Tonka Supernaturals, which already have some really gorgeous hologram action going on, just like Hasbro's Visionaries. But the one advantage that the Supernaturals have over the Visionaries is that when the lights go out, the fun continues. So with the hologram gimmicks, light is very, very important. Without the proper amount of light coming at the right angle, the holograms don't work. So the Visionaries can be very picky with how good the holograms look in the light. But I really appreciate that the Supernaturals, even if it's pitch black dark, you still get to enjoy the really, really bright glow-in-the-dark weapon accessories that they came with.
Vorsicht, Dämonen, Scarecrow und Ninja.
Number 7 is a vintage Masters of the Universe figure that I never had and probably never will have unless they reissue them. But I do have the Classics version. It is Scareglow, who is one of the most awesome glow-in-the-dark figures ever made. The glow-in-the-dark gimmick really goes with the skeleton design of the figure. He is a ghost of Skeletor, and he does look fantastic in regular lighting, but when the lights go out, that's when this guy just pops. Comes to life, ironically enough, without the lights. I like that on the Classics version. The blade on his weapon also glows in the dark. And if you do have him mint in box and you don't want to take him out, he still looks fantastic in the packaging. He really lights up the inside of the packaging. He still lights up nice and clear through the bubble, and the lightning design also kind of looks cool in front of him.
Give me water, here I come!
I really wanted to include a G.I. Joe or Cobra figure on this list. So number 6 is a guy I wasn't familiar with until I got him from Micah in a gift box in his Translucence and Glow-in-the-Dark gift box. This is Heavy Water, Cobra Radiology Weapons Specialist. And I didn't realize at first that he was a glow-in-the-dark figure. But when you turn the lights off, he really glows bright green. He's got glow-in-the-dark paint applications all over his body. The stand is also painted with glow-in-the-dark paint. And I love that the hoses also have glow-in-the-dark coloration to them as well. This is a very rare glow-in-the-dark figure that can be used underwater, so there's no worries of losing him in the river at night or in the bathtub during a power outage.
The dead do not suffer the living to pass.
I don't have very many Lord of the Rings figures, but number 5 is one that has been on display ever since I got him. It is the very, very eerie, spooky King of the Dead. The sculpting on this figure is absolutely amazing. Comes with a sword that glows in the dark. The robe has some string on it. The cape is removable, and there's other parts that are hanging off of him. The helmet is removable. All sorts of really cool things going on with this, but the real magic is when you turn off the lights, and wow, that is spectacular. I think it's one of the best ghostly glow-in-the-dark figures ever made, and it's great that he looks like his character in the movie with the same kind of ghostly visage. The only real drawback to this figure is how difficult it is to get him to stand. He's always falling over no matter what kind of stand I put him on. It's probably going to require one of those stands that hook him at the hips, but if you can charge him up enough, it is just such a beautiful piece of toy artistry to appreciate when the lights go out.
Leading the forces of good is night-fighting Dargan with his telebonded glow-in-the-dark insectoid Parafly.
Number 4 on the list is one of my personal favorites from my childhood. This is not my childhood Dargan Night Fighter box or figure, but luckily, that's the great thing about toy collecting. You can find one just like you had somewhere else in the world. Night Fighter Dargan might not have a lot of glow-in-the-dark parts on him. It's actually just the lenses on his visor, his antenna, and then on the back, the little Parafly has a glowing butt or abdomen and fangs. And despite his lack of glow-in-the-dark parts, he's not a glow-in-the-dark figure from head to toe. The parts that do glow, just like lots of other things with Sectars, are very artistically done, beautifully sculpted. The antenna on Sectars is such a trademark look of them all, and having this particular Sectar glow in the dark with the glowing antenna, it's really memorable too. If the new 3 3/4 line of Sectars figures does continue, I really hope that they get around to making a new version of Night Fighter Dargan. We were extremely lucky in the first line because both versions of Dargan were released in the initial year. Not as lucky with the new Sectars figures. This is the only Dargan we've received so far, but fingers crossed for a Night Dargan and Parafly release for that small line, but you can't beat the classic. Absolutely beautiful, even when you turn the lights off.
Drop your weapons! You are all under arrest!
Number 3 on the list, serves the public trust, upholds the law, and protects the innocent, even in the dark. It is Night Fighter Robocop, who kind of looks like he's been decapitated if he's in his package when you turn the lights off. But once you open him up and get his helmet on, when you turn the lights off, he looks as he should. And that is something extra spooky for any criminals and creeps who dare to break the law at night. Imagine this thing coming at you down a dark alley. This is another case of perhaps gimmick overload. He has this cannon arm. He also has his Auto 9, maybe? Sort of inspired by the Auto 9 that can plug into his side, as well as you can put caps on his back. Hasbro caps. And not only does it make exploding sounds when you put caps in, it launches his helmet off his head apparently. But I'm a huge Robocop fan, so Robocop glow in the dark, I'd buy that for $1.
I have the power!
And the power of Grayskull rules the rest of this glow in the dark list. Number 2 is the Spirit of Grayskull. King Grayskull, that is, a completely glow in the dark figure that was offered through MattyCollector.com. This one reminds me a lot of the King of the Undead from the Lord of the Rings Return of the King line. It is King Grayskull, the regular King Grayskull figure recast in a really nice looking plastic. When the lights are on, it looks a little different from most of the glow in the dark plastic. It's kind of almost translucent and ethereal itself. But when the lights go out, wow, that is absolutely stunning, beautiful. He is glowing with power. There was a previous version of the Spirit of Grayskull offered, but in ridiculously low numbers. It was basically just a special gift that Mattel gave out to a very select few number of people. And that one was more of a translucent blue type of plastic. But this one I will take over that version any day. King Grayskull is the source of the power of Castle Grayskull, He-Man, and She-Ra, and I think this is the ultimate representation of that ancestor, of the most powerful man in the universe and the Princess of Power. It's a great combination of spooky and also kind of calming and peaceful. And just like with Scareglow, if you choose not to open the packaging, he looks fantastic inside it as well. The glow comes through nice and bright, lighting up a lot of the inside of the package as well. Just a beautiful figure to have, watching over his ancestors inside your Classics Castle Grayskull.
By the power of Grayskull!
And number 1 is a little bit of unfinished business I never knew that we had to finish. It is the Transforming He-Man from Super 7's Vintage line. Now you can have the trifecta of Transforming He-Man, starting with Prince Adam, the transformation phase where he's standing in front of Castle Grayskull, glowing and sparking, and then transforming into the most powerful man in the universe. And being made of glow-in-the-dark plastic really gives him that ethereal, magical power of Grayskull look and feel to him. Glow-in-the-dark figures are some of my favorite figures in the collection, and having He-Man as a glow-in-the-dark figure in probably my favorite moment of every cartoon when he's transforming is absolute tops in my book. So that's my top 10 glow-in-the-dark figures. Let me know some of your favorites in the comments below. Thanks again to Micah for the request, for the amazing gift boxes, and for supporting the channel on Patreon. And thanks to everyone in the Patreon tribe who helped continue to produce these videos. Big warm welcome to new members Scuba Pete and Sean Gurton, and a show of appreciation to Lee and Jason Sullivan. Thank you so much for the extra pledges, and welcome to the ninja level, Jason. Hope you have a glowing weekend, especially in the dark. Stay safe and take care, good brothers and sisters. Nerdmas Day.